welcome back to another episode of the Fourth and a Mile podcast. I'm Nicholas Elliott alongside JD Zasa. We'll be recapping week 8 of college football and previewing week 9. Should be another good weekend. How was your weekend, JD?
It was okay. It's okay. It's just work Friday. Saturday was good. Got to watch college football. I wish some outcomes went a little better than others. And then Sunday was good. What about you?
Yeah, Saturday, wish outcomes would have been better, but games were good. Sunday, didn't have to watch my NFL team, so even
Yeah.
better.
Didn't have to watch my NFL team either. So it was a good weekend.
Successful weekend, I'd say. But let's get into the player spotlight. As a whole group, I'm going to say the Georgia defense for completely just shutting down the Texas offense, forcing 4 turnovers against Texas, who played 2 quarterbacks in that game, surprisingly, and reminded everybody why they are one of the best programs right now in the country.
It's one of the reasons why I predicted Georgia in this. And I was telling all my friends, I was telling most people about Texas. I was like, I would be very surprised if Georgia lost this game because I had a feeling that they were the more battle tested team, and my theory proved right. But
Yep.
overall, they looked like Georgia pass. They look like an old Nick Saban Alabama team, which makes sense because this is Kirby Smart.
Yep. Take your loss early, then just kind of just like keep even keeled, keep a good mindset. Everybody just play their game, and Georgia just been stacking wins.
And they got a
They
statement
haven't
win.
been playing good either, and then you get your statement win, yeah, and then now you're back on top. Nobody's sleeping on you anymore. But let's head to another player spotlight. Caden Durham of LSU, 21 carries, 101 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground for LSU. The freshman running back continues to help out that unit, which is very kind of injury. You're not getting much production out of Josh Williams, or
They
even and you have John Emery out for the season.
LSU's had they've never been a they haven't been a really run heavy team since probably Fournette was there or Darius Geis was there a few years ago. But right now it's just like who can balance the offense out. And so far, even with all their injuries, they've been able to do that. And LSU looks like a playoff team, look like a solid playoff contender.
Yep, they're just quietly sneaking up again as they normally do under Brian Kelly right now. But let's head into the recaps. Straight into the Tennessee Alabama game in Neyland, the third Saturday in October. What was
Tennessee,
your? We can go through the
Tennessee,
first half first. Let's go through the first half of the game. What did you think of the first half?
let's get this out of the way. Tennessee won for those who don't know. Tennessee won close, which I don't think that was shocking at all. Can you agree on that? Like it was a close game between Alabama and Tennessee.
Yeah,
Alabama's
that's not
one of the
shocked.
best rivalries in college football, and it's proved why. This Saturday proved why. They're pretty even. Both teams are pretty even. The first half, though, Alabama completely dominated. But the score was only 7-0 because the one thing I was interested in is the defense of Alabama actually played really good. That looked like the first half Georgia defense.
Yep.
That looked good, like 3 turnovers. Now, granted, one of the fumble by Sampson, they forced the fumble by Sampson, and Nico threw 2 bad interceptions. One to freshman Jalen Mbakwe. And then the other one, Nico was out because he had problems with his hip. Backup quarterback comes in, gets pressured, throws it to Malachi Moore for one of his easiest interceptions he'll ever have. The issue with the game with it is Alabama's offense was awful, beyond awful. The thing I'm most mad about, and it's not even Milrow. I'm more I'm more annoyed with the run game. Alabama cannot run the ball this year. They don't.
Yep.
They either don't, or they think Milroe's this great passer, which he's not. I mean, if you had told me at the start of the year that Milroe is not a passer. He's not. It's like he's Lamar Jackson. You can't make him throw 50 times a game. You got to use the run game. And Alabama's really good. They've always been this year. They've been really good at when they're staying on schedule, and it's like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. They're like 70%. They pick those up like 70% of the time.
Yep.
But the problem with the offense is they don't stay on track. When they have 3rd and longs, they are awful. But again, it's just I don't understand why they don't run the ball more or try to run the ball, even though Milroe was obviously struggling. And then the red zone pick was cute. It was an
Yeah, it was killer.
such a terrible play. Why did you throw? You're on the 3-yard line. Run the ball. Like it's not like Kalen DeBoer is an air raid guy. He ran the ball a lot last year and the year before with Dylan Johnson. He doesn't run the ball now. I don't
Not a,
understand that. I mean, that was my main thing of the first half. Tennessee played maybe the worst first half I've ever seen them play. And this is saying something because Tennessee's had some bad first halves this year. Nico could not hit a target. They probably, if he hit on his throws, like then they probably score like 21 to 28 points. But they don't, and that's what Tennessee is this year. I mean, what's your take?
Tennessee did everything to lose that game in the first half, and then Alabama did everything to win that game. And Tennessee did enough defensively to hold off.
I'll give credit where credit's due. Tennessee's defense is one of the best units in football, in college football. They're a top, in my opinion, they're a top 5 defense. They're incredible on defense.
Yep.
Disciplined, sound. I thought Miller would be able to really take control of the second, really take advantage of the secondary. He didn't because Tennessee, they were really good in the secondary, to my surprise.
Yeah, Tennessee just played better to win the game. They really then in the second half they exploded. It seemed like they finished with like over 200 yards rushing, but like they didn't. It didn't seem like they had that much until the second half. They were just gushing Alabama's defense. Given
Second
granted,
half,
Alabama's defense was kind of getting dominated again on the time of possession in the second half, even though Tennessee runs a pretty quick pace offense.
second half defense, second half defense, second half offense was good. I mean, 21 points. I mean, they get about how many points did it? I thought the second half offense didn't look bad, but
And they only scored. I
it
keep
didn't
forgetting what the score
it
was.
didn't look bad, but so many missed opportunities. And that's what's frustrating about this Alabama team because you watch them go on that long touchdown drive to end the third quarter, to start the fourth quarter. You're like, where was this? Where was this the entire game? And then Tennessee finally they started hitting some passes. Nico finally started hitting some passes. And as a Tennessee fan, you're like, oh, we're gonna win this game. If they can only score 7 points when we play our worst half, imagine what we do if we play
25%. Yep. I mean,
Not to
Nico
forget
was even hitting.
Dylan Sampson had a very nice game. And Nico made that one nice throw to Thornton. He beat Jalen Mbakwe, which
Yeah.
gonna happen. He's a freshman.
I thought he had chances early in the game to hit wide open deep throws. He just couldn't. He'll get better at that. But I think as a whole, it kind of worried me. It seemed like Milrow kind of lost his little burst a little bit. It seems like he's gonna play through it, but I feel like he is at least not at 100%. He's at probably like 80 or 70%.
He's nowhere. He just the thing I was I'm I was very interested in is like they really okay. So they love doing the sideline throws, sideline streaks, which what
Yeah,
DeBoer did last year on offense. Last year, DeBoer had Romo Dunze, who's the best one-on-one receiver in the nation. So I'm like, okay, they're probably gonna have a guy like that. Probably gonna be someone like Caleb Odom. Maybe steps up. Maybe Jeremy Bernard's that guy. But you're throwing it to Ryan Williams on a one-on-one ball. The, Ryan Williams he's he's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. But he's not a one-on-one guy. He's a Devontae Smith type guy. He'll beat you with his speed. Again, it's a frustrating game for Alabama because they should have won the game. But it's
yeah,
Kalen DeBoer learning the SEC. It's frustrating. And that's really all I can say about the two losses or ever since the first half of Georgia. Frustrating.
yeah. It's just inconsistent football. Again, it still seems like Jalen is hurt because every time his throws, he's rushing them whenever he gets his burst on. He didn't run it as much.
Yeah.
He didn't get much behind his throws. It seems like he was either shortening him or they were over guys' heads. But
But I'll tell you this.
still alive in the season. I mean,
I'll tell you
you got
this. I would not be surprised if they make the playoff.
yeah,
It's because everyone's at, I said this after the Tennessee game. I still think they're going to make the playoff. I talked to all my friends. They're like, "Why do you think that?" It's because I looked on the field and I'm like, they're not even executing at 50%. They're not even playing like 50% of their caliber. If they just cranked to like 50% of their ability, they probably beat everyone on the schedule for the rest of the year. That's another thing. I expected to be 5-2. This was my personal expectation of Alabama. I expected them to have 2 losses by around this time. I knew
yeah.
it wouldn't be undefeated. I knew it wouldn't be SEC championship. But I also didn't expect us to lose to Vanderbilt. Almost lose to South Carolina. But I did expect us to lose to Tennessee and then lose to Georgia.
Just
But
the ebbs
again,
and flows of the season.
to all the Alabama fans criticizing DeBoer and going, why can't you be Saban? He's not supposed to be Saban.
Yeah, let a guy be
We
himself.
hired him. Why do you think we hired him? If we wanted Saban, we could have gotten Dan Lanning or Kirby Smart, or they could have hired Glenn Schumann from Georgia. If they really wanted another Saban, they would have gotten one of those guys. They got this guy for a reason because he wins. But another thing about DeBoer is he's going through what every coach does, and this includes Kirby Smart, Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, Brian Kelly, Steve Sarkisian. Every single coach learns in their first year. This is how you play SEC football, and this is how you win SEC football. Now, the counter argument, everyone's like, "Oh, they got the best roster out of all of them." That's true, but also, coaches got to learn the SEC. SEC football is a different animal than Pac-12.
Talent doesn't win you games. I mean, it's
Talent doesn't win you games, and that's what DeBoer is learning. DeBoer's
today's college
learning
football.
you can't just throw it up to Ryan Williams 20 times. You got to play. You got to stay balanced to win the SEC. You got to be able to run the ball. And DeBoer is learning that this year. And if worst case, and if they go 9-3 in DeBoer's first year learning, if this is DeBoer's floor, if they go 9-3,
Yeah,
because I think the worst this team could be is 9-3.
I agree.
I do not see them lose more than one more game. And even if they lose that one game, if 9-3 is the worst DeBoer's going to be, if this is learning experience year for DeBoer, then that's a good year.
Yeah, you never expect to do anything big in year one, given that you're in a new location. And
No,
again, just going off
but
the
I'm going to go on one last thing.
yeah,
Alabama fan, every Alabama fan. I'm an Alabama fan. I have been since I've been born. This year has this year I've had this is the first time I've ever gone like I think I kind of agree with us being like one of the worst fan bases because after one loss we're like fire him. He's not the guy. I want to save him back. I'm like, okay, I get the standard, but also were people expecting undefeated this year with DeBoer? Like, honestly, what were your expectations this year, Nicholas? If you would have told me start of the year, what's a successful year under Kalen DeBoer?
nine
First
and three.
9-3. I said 10-2. I said they lose to Georgia and Tennessee, but beat LSU and beat all these other teams.
I was saying 9-3, 10-2, like all off season.
But everyone's like, but everyone I get some of their points, but also I'm like, guys, everyone's all the Alabama fans, especially on social media, are like, oh, feel pity for us. We should be top 10. I feel so sorry for us. I'm like, guys, if you want to be a bad fan base, if you want to cry, be a Florida State fan. Go ahead and cry there. That's crying. Go be an Auburn fan. Go be an Oklahoma fan. Go be a Missouri fan. Go be a Wisconsin fan. Everyone has bad years. Alabama's not going to be good every single year. And I hope the bandwagons leave. I want our bandwagons from our saving years to leave. Go to Georgia. Go to Texas. I don't want you. If you're not going to ride with DeBoer, then I want you. You're not a true Bama fan. You ride with this team no matter what. And I'm going to ride with this team no matter what. And I think this team's really good. And I think this team I think that was their last loss. I truly do believe that. But we'll get into that later. But overall, undisciplined. Very undisciplined. They got to clean it up. It's the same thing we said after South Carolina and Vanderbilt. They're still undisciplined. They're still this. They're still that. But also, there's a playoff team in there.
Yeah, it
And also,
definitely is. It helps when you play a Neyland though, because you're going to Death Valley in 2 weeks, and going to Death Valley is the toughest environment in the
or
country. So
learn what a true SEC environment is.
yeah,
Now you can talk. Now you in practice you can learn how to do snaps and loud.
yeah.
Loud
What
environment.
like 16 penalties? It's not the effort penalties like the holdings or pass interferences that really make you mad. It's more so the penalties you can control, like the false starts. Those are really annoying.
I agree.
But then again, once you get, I say now, this is the best part of the kind of college football where coaching matters. You see teams like Army, Navy, they should not be 6-0 with talent. They are 6-0 because of coaching scheme. They
Yeah,
are outclassing everybody.
Coach Siggett in Indiana.
Exactly. You
But
don't need talent to win. It's all about coaching. If you can
but
have good
all
with good players, you can win games.
but honestly, and people are calling for Ty Simpson to take the job. Guys, you're a naysayer. It's time to Lank.
That's right.
Alabama's gonna be fine. Lank. Everyone thinks we're gonna lose a few more games, especially a certain person at Barstool. But guess what? Lank.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We will see. But credit to Tennessee. They look good. They're also just as flawed as we are. They are not a national championship contender. And I don't think Alabama is. I think they're both playoff teams. Both these teams are not good. But the next two teams that we talk about, I think are true national championship contenders. Let's talk about the Georgia Bulldogs and the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, I'll cover this game. This game as a whole was kind of a hard watch. There wasn't really much excitement. I mean, Carson Beck, he
He
gets
lost
so much hype. He is not
this
good.
year. This year, he went
He's
from the
lost a lot of
number one
money.
overall pick to maybe a day 3 pick.
He's not good.
Like George, seriously, he went from the number 1 pick in most mock drafts to the number 3 pick. Like, people talk about Milrose lost money. Guys, Milrose going to be drafted higher than Carson Beck. At least Milroe has shown that he can make good decisions and win big games and and has upside. I have not seen an upside of Carson Beck.
Hey, Carson Beck still won this game somehow, but it wasn't because of him.
No, it was because of
But yeah,
because
what's funny is
identity.
7 combined turnovers between each team, and somehow Georgia still puts up 30. I mean, Texas had chances to
Carson
come back
Beck,
to the game,
Carson.
and they did.
Do you know what this game reminded me of? Is if it's if Georgia's offense played about the same as they did against Alabama in the first half.
Yeah,
Honestly, throughout the game, because let's be real, when Alabama went at 28, they did stop being aggressive. They kind of played a little more conservative. Let's be real. Georgia played about what they did in the first half against Alabama.
except they put up 23.
And it wasn't because of them. It wasn't because of that
They're
offense.
getting short fields because their defense.
Short field. And this is the point. Georgia's defense was the one who watched the Alabama game and took a message. And they went up against probably an offense that's a little harder to stop. I think harder
they
to
took a
stop.
couple weeks off.
And Georgia's defense looked incredible. Like, that's the closest you'll see is Alabama defense. That's Alabama defense 101. Saban Alabama defense 101 right there. Deion Walker right there. They were physical. They were tough. Isaiah Bond was a non-factor in this game. Bolden, a non-factor. Wingo, non-factor. Georgia welcomed Texas to the SEC. That's pretty much the most basic way you can say it. Texas, welcome to the SEC. You're not playing, in all due respect, Baylor every week. You get Georgia. I mean, what's your take?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like Georgia was just waiting for this game because they've been playing bad on defense this past. I mean, you let up 31 the previous week to Mississippi State, although Mississippi State's been playing pretty good offensively. And then you kind of just play a bluff card. Oh, maybe we're bad on defense. Nope. Next week, you stout them, you stop them,
The best
you
thing
crucify
that
them.
ever happened to Georgia is Texas being the number 1 team in the nation. And look, and everyone's going like, Texas. The media, everyone on game day, mostly everyone on game day picked Texas. Georgia's like, okay.
Yep.
Okay, we use this as rat poison. Georgia reminded everyone why they won 2 of the last 3 national championships. For Texas,
they got a lot. They played bad. They had
Texas,
chance to come back.
a theory was proven. A theory was proven to Texas. For Texas, they have not played a team that has challenged them. They haven't been battle tested. They went on the road to Michigan. Michigan doesn't have a quarterback. They played Oklahoma. The best team they probably played was Mississippi State. And let's be real, it's Mississippi State. It wasn't Oklahoma. It was Mississippi State.
Yeah, they're rebuilding.
And Mississippi State and Georgia are two completely different sides of the world.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe home field helps Texas. Not at all. Sark learned a lesson that DeBoer learned. Physicality wins football games. And Georgia had it, Texas didn't. The good news for Texas is
Your schedule's soft.
your schedule's soft. You could probably see this team again on a neutral field.
We'll see how the rest of
Texas can learn from this. Texas can learn from this. Like, they're good enough to win the national championship still. It's just maybe this was the best thing to ever happen to Texas.
The thing what's better is that they play Vanderbilt this weekend on the road, and now I think Texas goes in and dominates because Vanderbilt. This is like the exact game what happened to Alabama. If Texas would have had a win in this game, and against Georgia, I would have been a lot more worried if I was a Texas fan heading into Vanderbilt this weekend. But now that they got that loss, I feel a lot better about Texas.
I agree.
But down the road, I mean, their hardest game. I mean, Vanderbilt's it's a top 25 game. At Arkansas could be a test.
I looked at their schedule. There are some teams that if they're not awake for them, they could get beat.
Florida's been playing really good.
Florida's been playing a lot better. Like, we're not going to bring them up today, but they destroyed Kentucky.
I think Billy Napier's off the hot seat now. I think his losses aren't even that bad. I mean, you think about it. You look at his 3 losses.
We'll see what he can do in November.
We'll see. I mean, he's not going to win those games, but I'm just saying their wins in November. I mean, their losses in November. Tennessee, that's a top 10 team. They lost to Miami, who's now a top 5 team, and Texas A&M, who's the top of the SEC right now. So it's not like they're all going for Billy Napier's
that another day, but I fully disagree with you on that. But going back to Texas, they got to go to Arkansas. That's a tough place to play.
It helps it's at 11 a.m. at least.
They got Kentucky. Who knows what we'll get from Kentucky? Who knows? Because they got a good defense. The offense,
I feel like they're kind of just like dead right now. They're not
wake up. Texas doesn't wake up.
Yeah. Then the big game, Texas A&M. That to me, I feel like even if they lose this game against Texas A&M, if they're sitting at 1 loss, they'll be in. But this could be where Texas A&M is fighting for if they want to be in the 12 team, if they can pull out a win against Texas.
Well, right now, if Texas even loses that game, they'll still be in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At Texas A&M, it could be a play-in game. I mean, Texas could get eliminated if they lose that game. They won't because their losses would be against 2 good teams, but it could be a play-in game for on that day.
We'll see.
To see how this weekend's game go, we can head over to Louisville, Kentucky. I mean, Miami survives. This Miami team is giving me 2022 TCU vibes. They just
2022 TCU, 2019 LSU. They're like they're more 2019 LSU to me, but the difference is this isn't a historical offense. It's a really good offense. Like,
we're so just talking about how they play close games every week. Every week is a sweat fest if you're a Miami fan.
All right, I'm gonna ask a quick question to you. True or false? The Heisman Trophy race is right now only between Cameron Ward and Ashton Genty. True or false?
I'll say true. If Travis Hunter didn't go down with an injury, it'd probably be false because he's
coming back this week.
Yeah, he's not going to win it just because. But Colorado, shout out to them. They've been playing really good.
They're still in the playoff mix. They're still in the playoff mix.
That Big 12 is wide open. But Miami just kind of, it's definitely with Cam Ward right now. He's been playing unreal. He's probably going to be the first quarterback him and Shadur will be the first 2 quarterbacks taken off the draft this year. And that's what happens when you transfer, man. He got a really nice NIL deal, but he worked his butt off. He was playing in Washington State. I mean, people know him if you're like sickos like us. He was a good quarterback. I wouldn't mind him.
I'm
glad he's in the ACC.
I had questions about him. I was like,
and
he looked kind of okay in the latter half of Washington State. He proved me wrong, and I'm glad. I think he's a great quarterback. I think I watched the Louisville game. I'm like, dang, he makes some throws
Yeah.
where you're like, wow. But
He moves good in the pocket too. I didn't really know
he
when I
has
was
good
watching
pocket.
Washington State,
He has good
his
pocket
pocket
presence.
presence was bad.
He has mobility. He has decent mobility.
Yeah.
He's he's huge. He's a tall. He's this is more an NFL thing, but he's tall.
Yeah, it helps.
It
He makes
helps.
good decisions too. He gets it to the open receivers, can lead receivers. I mean, he just has all the right intangibles, and it helps when you have good players around you. I mean, Xavier Restrepo, he's an awesome player to watch. I enjoy. They haven't even used Damian Martinez a lot, and he was like one of the leading rushers in the country last year.
I mean, Miami. Mario
Yeah.
Cristobal's proven most of these. If they can just get into the playoff, Mario Cristobal's pretty much got that job for another 5 years.
Well, okay, so they have a. I was looking at their schedule. I mean, they can win out easily, but
The
if they
problem,
lose the ACC title game, do they get in with one loss? I mean, they get in with
yeah,
one loss. But it's like
they don't have. The problem with Miami is they won't have a statement win.
that's what I'm saying.
But I think they get in because of Cam Ward, Heisman quarterback. They got
One loss.
an offense. It's one loss. I think I'd put Miami in over. I'd put Miami in over Alabama and Tennessee.
Right now, you have
If you would have
four.
asked me 11-1 Miami over 10-2 Alabama or Tennessee, I'd pick Miami.
Yeah, you right now you have four undefeated teams in the ACC, and uh, do you think who do you think is the best team in the conference in that conference? Do you think it's Clemson right now, or do you think it's Miami?
It's a weird because there's a possibility we could get three teams undefeated in conference
Yep.
because Pittsburgh and SMU, because of the two dark horse teams in the league, Pittsburgh and LSU. Pitt, led by Alabama transfer Eli Holstein, by the way, they've got the rest of the year. They got actually they'll no, there is a way. Okay, it's
The
not with Pitt. It's not with Pitt.
the SMU.
So SMU's the wild card here.
There's a big
Why?
game next
Why is
weekend.
that? If
They
they
have
win
an easy
that
schedule.
game, if they win that game on the 19th against Pitt, which is
Yeah, next week.
week, coming up in 2 weeks, that means SMU probably goes would unless something chaos happens, they go undefeated. They don't play Miami or Clemson. Clemson could go undefeated. Miami could go undefeated. That's a chaos scenario. What do you do there for the ACC? If you're the ACC, what do you do there? You put Miami and Clemson in, but what do you say to SMU? I don't.
Yeah, I think it may go to like their action. I mean, they have one loss. SMU could very well be undefeated because they should have won that game against BYU earlier in the season.
And even that loss against BYU looks incredible.
Yeah,
Looks incredible.
Mormon magic, man. Mormon magic. We can do some quick thoughts real quick. LSU beats Arkansas,
No, let's start. We were talking about
and
BYU.
BYU survives.
And Iowa State, the two undefeated teams in the big, the two teams in the Big 12. They're both survived. Close game.
Mormon magic.
Iowa State survived UCF late in Ames, and Mormon Magic. I was watching that game at the Red Shed.
What annoys me about UCF is they should have won that game because they had that interception that the dude dropped at the 5 yard line. Like, why do you drop a ball when you're about to score? Just celebrate once you get in the end zone, man. Come on now.
That, but again, Big 12. That's another completely bonkers conference because there are teams. Look at this. There are 6 teams that could still make it into the conference championship in the Big 12. And that's Colorado, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Kansas State, Iowa State, and BYU. All
Yeah.
of them are still in the running. Because Texas Tech, Kansas State, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, and Colorado all have only one conference loss.
I feel bad. Yeah, there's some great conference races right now. I mean, we can at least next episode and we should discuss this in a segment. I mean, this is really very interesting because again, I think BYU might lose this weekend. They play UCF. I mean, it's kind of a trap game to be honest. But Iowa State, I really like Iowa State. They got a really good
I,
team.
I,
Rocco Becht, Matt Campbell's doing his
I love
thing.
watching Iowa State. I love
Yeah,
watching this Iowa State.
Indiana, they're hosting College Game Day in the Big Ten. I mean, they're looking really good right now. I
They,
mean,
like, remember when remember when Nebraska fans and even I was part of this? We're like, oh, we could probably be undefeated by the time we play Ohio State. Turns
not
out, turns out that's true, but you're not the team. You're not the team that's going to be it. It's Indiana, led by Coach Sig and Michael Rook, who's going to be out for this game against Washington. So that makes things really interesting for Indiana this week. But we'll
I
get
thought
into,
he might be able to go. I thought I saw something he might be. He was let me see.
I think he's going to be out. But one more quick note. We both thought LSU might be in trouble against Arkansas. They handled their business.
Yeah.
They look
We
good. Nussmeyer is probably surging up draft boards.
Yeah, Nussmeier's looking good. LSU on defense is actually looking a lot better. I mean, they
Do
held
you think
Arkansas.
do you think the Saints take a look at him?
Probably not. I hope
No.
they keep losing. It doesn't seem like they're gonna fire the coach as of right now, which they should, but we'll save that for another time. But LSU is looking good. This is what they always do. They always start bad and they go on a win streak and everybody gets bought in. They go on they're This is a tough game this week that we'll get into in a minute.
LSU's got two. LSU's got
Back
a
to back games.
LSU's got a stretch that really because I'll say this about LSU: they've looked better, but also there's reasons why I think Alabama could easily win that game. But we'll get into that when it comes. But right now, LSU is going. Right now, LSU's got a 4 game stretch that could easily not one of these teams could easily knock them off. This is
Yeah.
their this is their season. LSU season comes down to these 4 games.
Yeah, the Florida game is a
Your
trap
first
game.
your first major test was USC. You failed that one. The second test was South Carolina, which was a surprise test, but you got out of there. Your third test was Ole Miss. You won that game in overtime, even though you played sloppy. Here comes your fourth major test, your fifth major test, and your sixth major test coming up. Because they got Texas A&M on the road, Alabama at home, and then they got to go to Florida. That Florida game is going to be massive for Florida.
Texas A&M as a that game is going to be very interesting. I don't know which
We'll
team I
get into
want
that.
to pick.
We'll get into that soon. All right, let's head into the previews of this game. Let's start with what game do you want to start with? Do you want to start with what game day is doing, or what we both think is the biggest game of the week?
Let's head into where we just left off at and head straight back into Aggie land for the big game, probably the game of the weekend, in my opinion.
Oh, easily for me. If
Yeah,
game day didn't go to College Station earlier this year for Notre Dame, then they would have gone to this game. I think
yep.
I think Indiana would have gone another game, not specifically this game. But I'm happy for Indiana getting it though. They deserve it.
Yep. But Connor Weigman and Texas A&M hosting LSU. Connor Weigman's
For
he
first place
looked
in the
pretty good.
SEC. First place.
Yeah, very interesting. Weigman's been pretty good coming back from injury, and they've been rolling. I mean, they're good. I mean,
He
A&M.
was inconsistent. He was inconsistent against Mississippi State.
Yeah,
That play, but I mean, Mississippi State's playing good, so I wouldn't stress that much. I just
yeah. I wouldn't really look at the result of that game because Mississippi State's been playing every good team close as of late.
and they've looked better than some rebuild teams some teams that probably have more resources than they have.
Yeah, Mississippi
Ever
State is a
Shapen,
good.
ever since Shapen went down and Michael Van Buren went in
He's
for
solid.
State, I think they found their guy for the future.
Yeah, their offense has looked a lot better. But let's get back on track here with this game. I think this game is going to be won in the trenches, and they both have solid offensive line play. Their defensive lines are both pretty good. LSU's is starting to get a little bit better. But I think if you're gonna move the ball good against LSU, you need to have big games with your receivers because their secondary is not good. It's not good at all. And then they can make plays. I mean, every secondary can make plays, but Texas A&M needs to get their guys out in the field. Who are their receivers?
They don't have.
Thomas Marion, he's good.
Here's the thing with Texas A&M. They don't have a ton
Yeah,
of guys that blow you away. They just don't.
they're missing
Especially
Evan
the
Stewart
receivers.
bad.
But that's the whole point of Mike Elko's team. He wants you to be blue collar. He wants you to be physical. He wants to, and he's building Texas A&M. Texas A&M's for the first time in a long time. This is before Sumlin, before Fisher. When was the last time Texas A&M had a coach that could get this much out of his players? I mean, Mike Elko,
Right.
like this. When I saw they hired this guy, I knew he was going to be a home run hire. I didn't think it'd be this early. He
Yeah,
has been
but
a home run for
their
Texas A&M.
schedule has been very favorable.
It
This
has been, but
Notre
they've
Dame
also
game.
taken care. They've also beaten the teams that they should have beaten, which
Yeah,
can't really say about most other teams, especially this year.
that's true. I think LSU they've been really good as of late. Offensively, defensively, they're forcing field goals. They're getting off the field when it
Defensively,
matters. They're looking a lot
that's
better
the thing.
than they
That's
have the
the
past
reason.
2 years.
That's the thing where I'm like, everyone's still talking about LSU as a national title contender. The defense is the only question for me. I still don't think it's
Yeah,
national championship. Is it?
it's good enough to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree on. But I will say this though. LSU is about to go into an environment. Garrett Nussmeier is about to go into his toughest environment he's ever played, and it's not even close. All 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 credit to Arkansas, but Kyle Field at night is a completely different animal. And
Yep.
the same thing with Georgia. Do you think Texas A&M's going to, after what happened earlier this year against Notre Dame, do you think they're going to want to lose another game another night game in
Nope.
Kyle Field? No. It's going to be a fight.
Yep. Another interesting, even if Texas A&M gets through this game, they have like the most smelly game ever that you could just smell like an upset brewing going into Columbia next week to face South Carolina.
Oh yeah.
So if they like, I would feel a lot better. I would feel worried about A&M if they win this game, but we're talking about this week's game. I feel good about A&M, but this is like a coin toss game for me. I mean,
I mean, I mean these two teams. Let's go back a little bit. Not really talking about this game. These two teams have not really. These two teams. This remember when the SEC merged and the SEC was like, oh, Texas
yeah,
A&M are now rivals, and I say rivals because they're not. It's just
yeah, they're not.
they're border rivals, obviously, but in the history of this rivalry, LSU has completely destroyed Texas A&M. Texas A&M has won 2 times in the past few years, and one of those times, the overtime game, which is the stupidest game I've ever watched. It was glorious, but it was the stupidest game I've ever watched. And the year in 2022, when Jaden Daniels beats Alabama in overtime, and LSU's the number 5 team, they're already clinched their spot in the West. They're like,
Yep.
oh, if we win out, we're going to be in the playoff. It's going to be tough to beat Georgia. You got to win out. They get destroyed by Texas A&M. And Jimbo Fisher's second biggest win after the Alabama game.
Yep. People forget about that game. LSU, the keys to victory with LSU is Garrett Nussmeier just don't needs to play turnover free football because they can move down the field anytime they want. I mean, there's no question about it. They need to get Caden Durham more involved offensively. They need to. I mean, the offensive line is already good. I don't really have any problems about them in a hostile environment. It's more so if their defense can get off the field on big third downs and hold them to field goals. If they can hold the field goals, I feel really good about LSU getting this
For
win.
me, for me, the biggest story is can Texas A&M and Mike Elko put pressure on Nussmeier? Because when has a clean pocket, there's only like a few quarterbacks that are probably better than him. I'd say just as good as these other quarterbacks, especially this year. I think he's up there with Cam Ward. Like if
Yeah.
he has time, that guy's the best quarterback I think of the Heat.
And
Like
it helps. You got the one of the
and
best. You get the top 5 pick in the draft protecting you. You got Will Campbell protecting you. He's a
you got
top 5.
Emory Jones on the other side, who will probably be another first round guy because
Yeah.
he's for tackle in the NFL.
Then you have solid. You have Kyron Lacey, who's probably gonna be another first round pick. I mean, he's a
Aaron
the
Anderson, who's gonna be a player for years to come.
yeah.
They've got weapons,
Jay Daniels
but the game comes down to what do you like more? Skill players, speed,
for
or
scheme.
physicality? And for me, I lean more into one side over the other, but we'll
Yeah.
get to that in predictions.
Let's head to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, facing off against Missouri. This could be an ugly game. Just as like
I would not bet Alabama to cover the 13.5. I'm just saying.
I really kind of like this,
You
even
like
though
it because of
Missouri is not that good, if we're
they're
being
not
honest.
good, but they're not
And
bad.
Brady Cook's really banged up.
They have no running. Do you see their running backs also out?
They haven't really used them that much. It's
No, not all. It's
gonna
been
be if Alabama's inexperienced secondary can hold up against Missouri's good receiving core, and if they can contain Brady Cook in the pocket. I know he's hurt, but if you can't let him run, he's a good runner. He can get out. You
my
got to keep your eyes on
thing
him.
is third down.
Yep.
Third down. They did okay on third down against Tennessee. That was one of the things I was kind of surprised with. I was like, actually got a few stops on third down. Like
Yeah, defense played
they,
good enough for you to
they
win.
gave chances to Bama, which who knows? This is where I'm worried about third down. It's because of Luther Burden and their receivers. I think their receivers can get separation and pick up these like long sustained drives. But if Alabama's got to be able to make Brady Cook win the game, and I don't think he can.
No, he's banged up. If he was 100, if he didn't get hurt last week against Auburn, I feel like he could. But and we'll
And
see how their defense plays. Their
I don't
defense,
know why, but I think Alabama plays their plays a
that's what I'm thinking. I'm
like
thinking Alabama's going to come
if
out.
Alabama can't win, if Alabama struggles against Missouri, then most of my then my do I think Alabama wins the game?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's how they win. It's really going to tell me like how confident do I feel?
How much life is in that locker room?
How much life is in that locker room? How much are they really into buy in? If it's not, fine. Fine. I mean, it's a lost season.
Yeah,
First
I mean it's the first season. I mean, you just want to set your culture, but
I mean,
like,
obviously you're gonna get the Alabama fans that are rednecks or bandwagons going fire to board, but it's like,
yeah,
all right, yeah, 9-3, sure.
I just want to see the offense. They can
I
get.
want
I
to
feel
see,
like this is a good game. They can get
I just
back
want
into.
to see consistency on both sides. I want to see, I want to see when the defense playing good, the offense is playing good. I
Yeah,
want consistency.
complimentary football.
I want consistency, and please get under like under 80 yards of penalties. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be if it's
Not
effort. You can live with it if it's effort penalties. It's the penalties where you're after the play penalties,
if it's
and then
holding,
you're
if it's holding penalty, if it's these holding penalties and these
yeah
discipline penalties, if it's false starts,
more so that false starts, illegal motion, things that you can control. You can't control holdings because there's holdings on like 90% of plays that just don't get called. And then when you do it, it's mostly you're trying to finish off a block or you're trying to
yeah,
make an effort block. And
yeah.
pass interference is kind of the same thing, but it's like
How much fight does Alabama have? Like they should have a
yeah,
ton of fight because they're not out of it. Like
yeah,
if they win out, they'll be in. I think they'll be in. Like they'll have statement wins over. If Alabama wins out, they'll have statement wins over Georgia and LSU, who will
yeah.
be in the conversation. So
It helps that Georgia won that game.
your two losses are to Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Vanderbilt's ranked. Tennessee's going to be in the playoffs. So it's like,
Look,
is it?
if you're Alabama right now,
I
you want
think
to cheer for Georgia.
yeah. And I was saying that last week. I was like, if Alabama loses, we better hope Georgia wins. And
Yeah,
Georgia won. That means Alabama's got the best
best win in the country.
it's 50-50 between who's got the better win, Alabama or Oregon. I mean, both have really
Yeah,
good
that's true.
wins, but both, I'd say they're both evenly like number one. They're both tied at number one. Like,
Yeah. I
there's,
mean, they're both like in similar fashion too.
yeah, very similar fashions. It's just one game, one game was more back and forth. The other was kind of a big comeback,
One-sided for both
one
in both
side, two
halves.
halves. But going back to it, I got Alabama winning. I just want to see consistency. That's
It,
it.
yeah. I'm
I just,
glad that this game's in the afternoon, at least not at 11 a.m. You can at least kind of, you don't have to wake up early. You can kind of get into a little routine. You
yeah,
have an afternoon game.
believe me. I don't like doing the 11 a.m. games, but at least for that October 12th, I was glad because I got
Yeah,
to
yeah.
watch like every other game. So let's get into what's the other game we want to preview, or do we
Just
want?
let's hit the game in the Meadowlands real quick. Notre Dame and Navy. Shout out Navy. They've been awesome. They
No,
this is why
both
this
military.
is why
The troops have been undefeated.
shout out Navy Army. They're awesome. Fun to watch always. Just different schemes they run, triple option, this and
So
that,
here's the
running
thing that's
quarterbacks.
interesting. Both Notre Dame's, who would have thought at the start of the year that Notre Dame's toughest games at this end stretch would not be Florida State, it wouldn't be USC, but on paper, the two toughest games on Notre Dame's schedule at the end of the year would be Army, undefeated Navy, and undefeated Army.
Yep.
Who would have thought?
Very I think honestly, for going into this game, I think Notre Dame plays right into Navy plays right into how Notre Dame wants to play because Notre Dame has a really good like defense. They can stop the run, and Navy does not really have a passing game. So I think, but
I actually think it's the opposite. I actually think it's the opposite. I think Notre Dame's on heavy upset watch. Why? Why do I think that? Let's get into there's one stat I saw oh when I was researching this game, there's one stat. So right now Notre Dame's a 13-point favorite. So Notre Dame should win this game. And on
I think
ESPN,
they win in dominating fashion.
ESPN matchup predictor, it's 91%. I think they probably cover, but there is a world where I could see Navy win this game. The reason
Time
is
of possession.
not even that. If Navy gets into a shootout, they make the game into a shootout. There's a stat on here that I'm trying to,
Yeah, Notre Dame can't win games in shootouts.
but have you seen Navy's offense this year?
They're
Like
putting up 40 points a game, at least more than that.
it's more than that. That's the stat I'm trying to find. All right, here we go. So no Navy has averages about 493 yards a game, which is 52nd. They they have the seventh best rushing defense. Notre Dame is the 30th. So Navy, here it is right here. Navy is top 5 in points per game. They score 44.8 points a game. So that's around 45 points a game. If Navy wins, if this game is a shootout, I got Navy. That's the way Navy wins this game. If they get them into a shootout. Because I don't think Notre Dame is built for shootouts. They're not built for
Yeah.
shootouts. Navy so far this year has really been able to bang, 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 bang. If they can do that against Notre Dame early, get ready for a shootout.
Yeah. I feel like Notre Dame can really out physical Navy in this game, even though Navy, at least on the offensive side of the ball, because Navy is not seeing a team like Notre Dame offensively, even though Notre Dame
Yeah, I
offensively is
mean,
not that
Navy,
good. But it's just like,
it's gonna be the only way they win this game is I think is shootout because
yeah,
Navy is like 189th in yards per game, 172nd passing yards, 103rd. They're not good in the.
they have to win. And if they want to win, they got to rush for like 300 yards.
I will say this though, another stat for Navy that looks really interesting is for me is they're 40%. They're 40% on third down. That's good. That's really good.
What helps is they run it on the first and second, and they get within 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, and they can just run it
Hey,
again. They'll get
hey,
it every
Kalen
time.
DeBoer. Hey, Kalen DeBoer. Look at what Navy's doing. They're getting into 3rd and 3 by running the football a little more.
Yeah.
I mean, do I think Navy's the team that beats Notre Dame?
Nah.
No, I think Army's probably the tougher challenge, but I wouldn't be surprised if Navy did it.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. I mean, I'll be tuned into that. I think it's 11 a.m. game
Yeah,
on
it's an
ABC.
11
So
a.m. game, so
could
we'll be probably walking into Bryant Denny Stadium by the time this
yeah,
game
it could
wraps.
very well be. It's kind of good that it's in the morning because I could see maybe Navy can catch Notre Dame sleeping because Notre Navy, they get up for all these basic trainings. They're always up in the early morning, so they should be more catered to playing in the morning than Notre Dame.
Yep. All right, you
But
want
let's
to
head into predictions.
let's head into prediction. So overall, we did fine. Both
Yeah,
of us did fine. Like I won here, I'll even count them up right now. I won Miami, I won Indiana, I lost Auburn, we I lost Alabama, I won Illinois, LSU, Georgia, and Kansas State.
you're better than me again.
So that means I lost two games. You, on the other hand, lost one, two,
Three.
three games, four games. You lost
Good.
Georgia, Texas. You lost
Uh,
Georgia, Texas, Illinois, Michigan.
oh yeah, four games.
Yeah.
Not a
So
good week. I need an undefeated week this weekend.
yeah, you do. So
All right.
this week this week starts off very nice. This is we'll get into it. I have a question later after predictions, but this game is my game of the week. That's not. This is a
Not
game.
getting enough love.
This is a game of the week. Boise State at UNLV.
Yep.
Massive game for the Group of Five playoff. Does
Boise.
Boise State continue to dominate? What do you think?
It, I'm gonna take Boise State because I think they're just UNLV. They're not great. I mean, they're a solid team. They can give up long drives. I was watching the game last week against Oregon State. They escaped with the win, but Boise State has played tougher opponents all season, and they're ready for this game. They're ready to win out the rest of the season. I think Boise State's going to go into Vegas. It's not going to be a hostile environment. I think Boise State might take over the stadium. They have a good traveling fans. They're going to want to go to Vegas for a weekend, go spend it
I
from
would. I would.
and watch this game inside Allegiant Stadium. Give me Boise State.
You like Boise State? I'm gonna go with. I'm actually gonna go with the Rebels. I'm gonna go with the Rebels.
Yeah, it's a close game. The line's at 3.5 for Boise State. I
I
want to
would.
see
I
how
would not be mad if this is just an Ashton Genty showcase. Then like I'll be happy to take this. I'll be happy to take the sell because I love watching Ashton Genty. He's so much fun to watch.
I just want to see if UNLV can test Maddox Madsen when he's in the air. Tough
Yeah,
name to say a lot of times. But if they can give him troubles in the passing game, because he's not really been tested in the passing game. You need
not
to if
really.
you can get them to play from behind. If you get Boise State to play from behind, then UNLV has a good chance of winning because they won't be able to rely on Genty in the run game.
Guess what game this is on? Guess what channel this is on?
I'm looking at it now.
CBS Sports.
CBS.
CBS Sports Network. That means why is this game on ESPN? This is like a prime time ESPN game.
Yeah, it should be on like FS1 at least at the worst.
At least. But we're not going to predict these two games, but these two games there's some games like before Saturday that are interesting. Syracuse plays Pittsburgh tomorrow, which is a fascinating game.
Yeah, we would have picked this game, but it's gonna be out when the show's out tomorrow. So
Absolutely. Then we got Louisville Boston College. Another just weird
could
game.
see an upset, but
Could see an upset there, but and then we got Rutgers and USC. The battle of
mid.
teams. Yeah, the battle of mid. All right, let's get into Saturday. So good week to start. Let's get into Saturday. The first game we're gonna do is go in order. We're Notre Dame Navy. We preview this game
Yeah,
a little bit. I'll go first
Notre
on this
Dame.
one. I got Notre Dame. I would love to see Navy win more than anyone, but I think the defense of the Irish is just a. I think that'll be good, even though they've lost some big players. I got Notre Dame. I don't see it this week.
Yeah, I don't either. Notre Dame.
Next game we got is a battle of, I'd say another battle of mid, but not really. Oklahoma, Ole Miss.
Yep.
I think
Goodbye, Seth
Oklahoma's
Luttrell.
better. I think Oklahoma's better than what their record is. I
Me
think
too.
they're better than that, but also the offense.
We
I mean,
say
they
five
fired their
Seth
offensive
Luttrell.
coordinator. They fired their offensive coordinator. So I mean,
Yeah,
can't get
but
worse.
look, this game, it's
And Jackson Arnold's Jack. I feel bad for Jackson Arnold. Like he said like he didn't want to play meaningless so he could save his red shirt. They're putting him in now. They're like, yeah, screw your red shirt. Going in. He's probably gonna. I think he probably transfers at the end of the year.
yeah, I could see that.
It's just
Or
not.
maybe he just like he's not even
Not a good fit. It's just not a
yeah.
good
And
fit.
their receivers hurt. It's kind of just a bad recipe for him right now. I could see Oklahoma keeping it close. I mean,
I do too. I wouldn't be surprised with
I
that.
don't trust even though Ole Miss is coming off a bye, but give me Ole Miss, but Oklahoma to cover.
I've got Ole Miss. They got more to fight. They got more to play for. They're not out of it. It's just a really tough road for Ole Miss to
Well,
into. Get
I
back.
think Ole Miss is kind of out of it with how Georgia's been playing.
Well, who knows? The game's in.
Yeah,
I mean, this Ole Miss. They got Oklahoma this week. Then they got to go at Arkansas, home versus Georgia, at Florida, and then Mississippi State. Their November has turned out to be a brutal November. As
that
a
Arkansas game is going to be interesting as well.
at Arkansas, at Florida, that's brutal. And then you get the Egg Bowl, which the Egg Bowl this year might be a very interesting game.
That's what I'm saying. That you're talking about Florida in November. If they can win one of those games, then Billy Napier will survive.
Maybe we'll
If
see.
he wins against Ole Miss or LSU, his job is safe.
We'll see. Next up, we've got is Washington at Indiana. Does Indiana keep it going?
Yes.
You got Indiana?
Yep.
I've got a bad feeling on this game, but I'm not picking against.
I could see an upset
I'm
easily.
not picking against the people. I'm not picking against the under. I'm not picking up against the underdog. I want Indiana to go as far as this train can go. Indiana, give me Indiana, and Coach Sig.
Let's go.
Next game up we've got is Texas going on the road to Nashville to take on the Commodores. Diego Pavia, he showed the match against Alabama, upset Alabama, and now you get an angry Texas team. What do you got?
Vandy's coming off of a close game against Ball State, surprisingly. They've been looking good lately, Vandy, but this is a prime bounce back spot for Texas. Everybody, if they would have won last week, I probably would have picked Vandy to. I think Texas is going to dominate them.
I don't think it's going to be dominant. I think Vanderbilt covers. Vanderbilt covers, Texas wins.
Yeah, I think Texas wins. I think they cover too.
Yeah.
Everybody, I feel like the whole country is going to be on Vanderbilt to cover, and then this is a prime spot where Texas just comes out and proves
I think
why.
more people are going to be on Texas covering. I think Texas, everyone's going
Let's see what
to want to destroy this team.
we'll. See. I'm gonna check what the splits are.
So right now on the score, which is what I use, Texas is currently where are you? Texas is an 18.5 point favorite. So just under a 3 touchdown.
Yeah, never mind. Texas is still public, but 58% public.
So Texas right now is a little under 3 touchdown favorite.
The line's gone up a point.
Okay.
But I still think Texas, this is a prime bounce back spot, but it's still a high line. It's disrespectful to Vander coming off a win against Alabama. But I guess if they would have dominated Ball State, it probably would have been a little lower, but they didn't look bad against Ball State. But let's get into the next game, Missouri and Bama.
Bama.
Yeah.
Like
I think Alabama's gonna win, and I think they're gonna
I
cover
I
too.
do not. I there's no way they lose to Missouri. Like,
But it's in Kalen DeBoer's contract to play one score game, so probably will end up
oh
being
yeah,
a
it's
one
in his
game.
contract. It is in his contract. Washington is his contract everywhere. Cannot blow a team
But
out.
I think Alabama's gonna get back on track and actually win this game by more than one possession.
I agree. Next game we've got is
Game of the week.
LSU Texas A&M.
If you're an Alabama fan, you probably want to go for LSU because LSU will have a higher ranking going into the game in Death Valley if you win against Missouri. But if you want to be able to eliminate LSU, you want Texas A&M to win. But we're going. I don't care about that. I'm trying to catch up to you on these picks. Give me
Oh,
Texas A&M.
whatever team loses this game's not even out of it.
No,
They just had to.
but
Uh,
LSU. If LSU wants to make the playoffs, they have to win this game because at least they can lay a stinker against Alabama.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I I said speed over physicality. I like Elko more than Kelly. Give me Texas A&M. They're not losing another night game in Kyle Field.
Yeah,
So I wanted to. So originally, I had the spread game this week to be Florida State and Miami at 21. But after watching Florida State play, this actually watching the film on Florida State, there's no way we're doing this game spread. So we're gonna
yeah.
change that up.
We should do it as spread.
I'm gonna let. Do you want to pick this game for the spread?
Yeah,
All right. I've got two other
Florida
games.
State.
I got three other games to throw out to you to predict. So I guess actually a few other games. There's a few games that I want to get your quick opinions on as well. We won't put it in predictions, but I want to get your quick opinion on it because we got some time.
Yeah.
Um,
Miami's gonna the Miami game, Florida State game is interesting, but
who do you got? You got Miami
I
covering?
want to take Florida State to cover just because how nasty it is. Because there's no way. I just don't like Miami. Like Florida State's not good at all. They're a bad team, but Miami just doesn't like win games handily right now.
You got Florida State covering?
Yeah, it's a rivalry game, man.
Every
It means
upset
something.
pick, every upset pick, you pick the same upset. I've also got Florida State covering this game.
It's a
Miami doesn't
rivalry game,
love
and Miami does not win by a lot of scores. This Miami team is not dominate teams.
this week. Okay, this week's predictions is all going to come down to this Boise State UNLV game because we picked everything else the similar.
Well, this with this slate, there's a couple other. What were the interesting games that you liked?
Interesting games I wanted to bring up. So we're both SEC masochists, obviously. This Auburn Kentucky game, Kentucky's a 2.5 point favorite at home
That's
at a night game.
it's a nasty game.
Does Auburn finally get a
No,
win? No, you're
Kentucky's gonna get a win
no.
here.
Their defensive line is just too good.
They need this bad. Kentucky needs this bad.
Yeah,
They've been reeling as of late.
both teams really need this win.
Yeah, but
If Hugh Freeze loses this game, Auburn fans are gonna be like,
Auburn fans have already given up. They've already moved
they're
on.
giving up. They're already looking at recruiting, but like, at least be Kentucky. Like at least be
Yeah, I
Kentucky.
mean, Kentucky's at least had a good win against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Another game that I was gonna bring up is Cincinnati and Colorado.
I was gonna bring that one up too.
That game is very interesting.
Very
I like
Cincinnati,
Cincinnati a lot because they
Cincinnati's
have a really
like
good offense.
Cincinnati's kind of come out of nowhere this
I've
year.
been watching them a lot this year. They have a good quarterback that I like, and they're not really good defensively. This is going to be a high scoring game, and I'm glad this game's at night. A lot of people are going to see this game, and it's going to be a high scoring game.
We're not gonna predict this game either because it's gonna be a toilet bowl of toilet bowls. Michigan State, Michigan is going to be a cover your eyes
Next
game. It's
game.
gonna be a disgusting game.
It's going to be a physical football game. It's going to
Agreed.
see how bad Michigan wants it. And
I want Michigan State to win this game. I think it'd be so funny.
Michigan needs to go get a quarterback in the transfer portal. Let Dave Portnoy
Hell,
go.
Jackson Arnold. Hell, Jackson Arnold. Why not? He might be in the.
I mean, Dave Portnoy said he's going to pledge that much money, so
Yeah.
they shouldn't be giving Jackson Arnold that much money.
So here's another game that I thought was interesting. We'll get this game the rest of these games are mostly going to be Big 12 games, but this game, I just wanted to get your quick opinions on it. Penn State's going into Wisconsin. They're only a
Yeah.
touch. They're barely a touchdown favorite. Do you think how worried should you be if you're Penn State? Because you're looking toward that Ohio State game, obviously.
Uh, a little worried, but if they had Tyler Van Dyke, I'd feel a lot better about Wisconsin. But Wisconsin's looked pretty good as of late with Braden Luck. I mean, they're not a
I
bad
put
team.
this on. I would put a 6 on the upset alert. Like
Yeah,
6.
I don't
I
really
get
see
6. Not really, but if you're not looking, Camp Randall
the
can.
night game.
What?
It's a night game.
Yeah, night game. It's Camp. It's Wisconsin's Super Bowl. It's their
Yeah,
Super
I
Bowl.
could see it. I could see it. But Penn State, they're kind of this is their game. They can't drop any games because if
No,
they have a really favorable because they only have to play Ohio State, so it kind of helps. They if they win this game against Wisconsin, I feel really good about them making the playoffs
I agree.
because they can lose against Ohio State and still be fine. And then again, that game's at home. I feel bad. This game's. I'm mad that game next week against Ohio State is
At 11
freaking
a.m.
noon Monday.
It should have been
Come
a
on, man.
whiteout. It should have been a whiteout.
Big noon Saturday.
Quick
Give us a night game too. I mean,
again,
come on.
really, really quick thoughts. So like, really quick thoughts. Arkansas going to Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State can win this game.
Yeah, I picked
Uh,
Arkansas. I don't know why. In my pick'em league, I took Arkansas to cover. I don't like it at all. I'm probably going to switch to Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State's like undefeated against the spread
yeah.
in the SEC play so far.
Illinois is going on the road to Oregon. Oregon's 21.5 point favorite. I do not see. I do not see. I think Oregon covers pretty easily.
Yeah, I think Oregon dominates. Illinois can if Illinois wants to like muck it up and like play slow, play how they normally play,
Yeah,
they can get problems because Oregon could go back to their old ways at the beginning of the season where they struggled.
agreed. All right, two other games really quick. It's two teams that are still in the running for the Big 12 championship. BYU, let's do BYU first. They're the big one. They're number 11. They're going on the road to UCF, and UCF is currently a 2-point favorite.
That's why I mentioned earlier in the episode this game is a rat line. I don't like. I was just looking at this game anyways. You have to travel cross country to Orlando. It's gonna be hot, humid. BYU's been playing in these cold games lately in Utah.
Agreed.
I could see, and their defense is not that good. I mean,
8.5.
Ollie Gordon had
I
a
got
big game.
I got an 8.5 upset watch
Yeah,
on BYU. Very, very
I
concerned.
think I'm backing UCF in this spot because look, Ollie Gordon had his first big game on Friday night against BYU against
What I thought.
BYU, and look who is an elite rusher, RJ Harvey, and I don't even know who's playing at quarterback, but still they can move the ball. This is Gus Malzahn's game where he goes out and gets an upset. It could have should have been last week. They should be coming off a big win.
Gus Malzahn really, really needs this win to keep his job.
They should have won that game last week. They did everything to
Yeah.
lose the game, but I
And
think
then
UCF is going to win that game.
and then the final game I want to talk about is Texas Tech. They're still in the running, but they're going on the road to Fort Worth. Take on TCU.
TCU starting to turn around a little bit. They went into Utah, silenced
They're
Utah.
playing like, do you know what they're playing like? They're playing like an SMU team. They're playing like Sonny Dykes did at SMU. They're kind of built like Sonny Dykes was at SMU before he went to TCU.
Yep.
Like a team that will that's just there. It's there, and if you're not watching them, they will bite you.
And look, Texas Tech is not. They've kind of like pulled out some wins they shouldn't have. Baylor went in their house and dominated them, and Baylor is not a good team this year. So I think TCU is gonna knock out Texas Tech out of any contention for that Big 12 title.
I agree. I agree.
And better quarterback too. Josh Hoover is a very underrated quarterback. He can sling the football around.
Is there any other games that you want to talk about really quick
I
besides
think
that?
we got this slate's like a
It's
6.5 out of 10 for me.
okay slate. I mean, next week we get the bit. Next week we don't have. I mean, what do we get next week? Next week we get. Okay, there's some games on the slate, like not as good as on paper, but
Penn State, Ohio State.
Penn State, Ohio State's a big one. Pittsburgh, SMU is huge.
Yeah, that
Ole Miss, Arkansas is huge. Texas A&M, South Carolina is huge game. Vanderbilt and Auburn, sneaky good. Really the big game that another big game, Texas Tech, Iowa State for the Big 12, Florida, Georgia could be interesting, but who knows? The game that probably would have been one of the highlights. This should have been a Big 10, just a perfect Big 10 week, but
yeah.
because of one team, nothing really happened. Oregon's going on the road to Michigan, probably on CBS.
Yeah, why did CBS not get Ohio State Penn State and they could have made that their night game? They really like screwed
It,
that up.
it's because Fox gets number one say in this Big 10 deal. It sucks because Penn State.
I hate I hate
I
big
hate
names.
it. I hate it, especially for a top five.
I mean, you gave Oregon and Ohio State that
If
game.
Ohio State wants an 11 a.m. game, if they're on the home team, they want an 11 a.m. game versus Penn State, then fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But Penn State, they want this game to be a night
Penn
game.
State is an environment you can't really enjoy it at 11 a.m. It's only enjoyable at night. It's just like Death Valley. You have to play games at night in Death Valley.
Agreed.
But
But
guys, I'll wrap it up for this episode. We had a good time. I hope you guys enjoy listening. And that'll be another episode of the Fourth and a Mile podcast with Nicholas Elliott and JD Zasa. We hope you enjoy your weekend and stick around on Friday for the NFL episode that we'll be dropping this weekend to get you ready for NFL Sunday.
thanks,
Enjoy.
guys.